Welcome gamers, my name is Daz Tactic, welcome to the channel and welcome to this series of top 10s that I'm putting together of like a games radar of 2024 where you're sort of looking at over the horizon at the games that are coming this year. This is going to be an exceptional year for gaming, and in this particular video I'm going to be looking at a very loose list of what I would consider RPG. Now RPG for me just means basically that's character driven in some way, or not even character driven, it's got characters in it that you may or may not become attached to. And so it's a very loose list. This is not a traditional RPG style list at all. I hate scripted games. I don't like preset maps, so I tend not to play traditional RPG games. Having said that, some of them do make it into, across my desk, and I do enjoy them. But you're not going to find the traditional RPGs in this particular list. This is much more, sort of geared towards replayability, open world type stuff, things like that. So with that out of the way, I just wanted to clarify that this is not your traditional RPG list. It's more just games that have got some characters in them. All right. Scoring out of four different aspects of what we're doing through here. The first one is we're going to be scoring the games out of the UX/UI aspects. So user experience and user interface. If they look good, if they feel good, if it feels like it would actually sort of just meld and gel well for someone to play the game, it's going to score highly in that category. If like some of my favorite games don't score highly in that category because they are cumbersome, like the user experience or user interface can be cumbersome, and so quite often complex games do struggle in that category. But I think that I'm keeping it sort of like where I'm keeping the same four categories that I've been using for everything else as well, for the simple reason I think it's good for casual players for me to score it this way rather than actually just have my own personal preference. As it turns out, probably my favorite games in here in this particular category are my top few games. So it has actually sort of gelled out where my own personal preferences are also now feeding through into the actual list itself. It's certainly in most of the other categories that I've got in this series of top 10s, it hasn't been that way at all. So let's, well, actually that's the first category. Number two, the second category that I've got is replayability, which is why traditional RPGs just don't make it into this list. I do actually have some deeper down outside of my top 10 that are RPGs, but they don't rate because their replay values are very low, I find. So I tend not to, personally, replayability is really important to me. For me, that's value for money. So I know that there's certain games where you might get 40 hours like playing through a story. That's great. I just don't personally like that. I'd much prefer to have procedural content where it can play differently each time. So keep that in mind as well with this particular list. It may not be what you're into, like what you're actually after. The third component, so number three in our little list of components, is the ability for the game mechanics and the gameplay, which can be loosely tied in with the user experience, but generally it's just how the game mechanics come together and just how cohesive they are. If they're overly complex, it will score low. Again, some of my favorite games are complex games, and so they don't score highly when I'm sort of trying to evaluate them in this sort of fashion. But, so again, for more casual gamers, this is sort of, I think, where I'm sort of scoring it with that in mind. Now, the fourth category, and for me, this is the most important category because it's my personal preference. It's the games that I'm really looking forward to. So my anticipation for playing the game, I've sort of rated out of 10 with that one as well, and that sort of then comes into the equation. So all of the four categories are rated out of 10, and then the average then gives me a score to give my top 10. So that's actually sort of how things are working. I don't want to spend too much time explaining this each episode, but I think it's important to just know what's actually happening there. So when I'm talking about if it scores high or low in one particular area, that's what I'm referring to: the user experience/UI, replayability, the game mechanics, and my own personal preference. So at number 10, here it is on the screen. So surprise, surprise, it's Alliance of the Sacred Sons. So Alliance of the Sacred Sons is a sci-fi grand strategy RPG. There we go. We've actually scored an RPG in the title, but not in the actual tags. So the tags aren't there on the bottom through here, but it does score in the actual title there. That begins with your coronation as the head of an interstellar empire and ends with your demise. So certainly character-driven. This is a character-driven game. Manage feuding noble houses and the schemes of would-be usurpers as you try to revive the glory of an empire on the brink of collapse. This is sort of like Dune, a Dune simulator. Like, you know, the great houses of Dune is how I sort of look at this game, which does look very interesting, I've got to say. So I'm really looking forward to playing this particular game. It looks fairly simplistic on one level, but I don't know much about the game. So it sort of has scored lowish in things, for example, like the gameplay aspect, because it doesn't look like there's a real lot of grunt put into that side of things. It looks very much like a board game sort of style. Anyway, that's number 10. Number 9 is another hooded horse game. This is, and there's going to be a lot of them actually in this whole series. So many hooded horse games coming out this year that are just awesome. Anyway, Breachway just squeaks in. Is it an RPG? I actually don't know. It does have characters in it. So technically I've sort of put the tick in through there, but it's not probably strictly an RPG, to be honest. And so with Breachway, it looks a bit like FTL to a degree, maybe a bit more open worldish than FTL, which I think I would really embrace. That's one thing I didn't like about FTL. I sort of wish I could go back, backwards basically, where instead of always being pushed forward. But in this case, explore the galaxy in this deck-building sci-fi roguelike where ship upgrades and crew management are key to your survival. So crew management, yeah, that's RPG. Optimize resource generation, engage in intense turn-based battles, and take on ever-growing threats as you seek out the signal. Now, it looks like it's mainly a ship builder, so there's a bit more of a simulation style game, but certainly you can sort of see they're very much an FTL sort of style combat system. Yeah, as I said, sort of looks like it is, the deck building will be fairly important with what you can do through there, but it does look cool. It looks very simple again, so very simple game. That's why these things aren't probably rating as highly as some of the other games that we have, because the simplicity of them is, it is, that doesn't mean they're no good. It just means that they're not as I guess, as cohesive and intricate as some of the other games that we actually have in the list. Now, number 8 in my list is Tactical Breach Wizards, which is a game that has been in development for quite some period of time, actually. It's a game I've been looking forward to for quite a few years. I haven't played it at all. It just looks very, very cool. And it's actually made by one of the developers that I really like, who has, like Heat Signature is a game that I've played an awful lot of. I just absolutely love it. The reason this one doesn't score as high as what it could do is that the replay value, I don't think there's any random content in this one. I think it is literally just puzzle after puzzle after puzzle. I don't know how many levels there'll be, but you'll see it through here. So Tactical Breach Wizards is a puzzle tactics game where you lead of outcast witches and wizards in Kevlar, unraveling a modern geopolitical conspiracy by combining your spells in clever ways, dealing with your emotional problems and knocking people through windows. So it certainly sounds like it's puzzle / story driven. It's certainly an RPG. I think the game mechanics, I'm really looking forward to playing the game, but where something like, for example, Heat Signature, which was one of the other games that the developer had built, is purely roguelike in the way that it sort of does work, where every single ship that you go on is randomly generated. So, and the whole parameters of them are all randomly generated as well. This one doesn't look to be that way. Gunpoint was the other game that was actually done by the same developer. That one was similar to what this one I think will be like, where the levels are scripted. And so that's why it doesn't rate very highly on my list, like number 7. It's still in there. It's still actually in the list, but it's just not where I would love this to be a roguelike game. It's very hard, though, when you've got such pure puzzle-like components where you're trying to sort of solve a particular way to get through an actual map to be able to do them as roguelike. So it's still in my list. I'm still looking forward to it, but it's going to have a progression through it. It's going to be a walkthrough rather than a let's play when I actually do, if I do cover this game. It says the release date to be announced. I'm assuming 2025. I would have assumed last year, to be honest. To be honest, I really thought it was going to be last year that this game was going to be coming out, but it wasn't. So I've put it in this list for 2024. Okay, number 6. Is it? Yeah, number 6. No, number. Hang on, this is number 7. 10, 9, 8. Yeah, the last one was number 8. This is number 7. I think I called the last one number 7. So this is my actual number 7. Ancient Arenas Chariots. Now, this game is, if you've played Quadriga back in the day, like that was maybe 5-6 years old now, I guess, Quadriga, maybe even longer, to be honest. That was a great little game, actually. This is sort of like Quadriga 2, essentially, where it's a chariot racing game, very much where you are developing a stable of both the chariot riders, the Aurigas, and the actual and the chariots themselves, like sort of maintaining the chariots, maintaining the teams of horses. So it's a management game in that sort of sense, but it's also a character-driven game where you actually do then have different things through your Aurigas, the actual charioteers themselves. And so it's a loose RPG, very, very loose, but it's a game I'm really looking forward to playing, actually. So it says, dangerous, grueling, fierce. So chariot racing was by far the most favoured sport of ancient times. Ancient Arenas takes you back to an age where charioteers were the richest sports stars and team owners were their ruthless and fearless managers. So it is going to be a management style games, but with an RPG component. Very, very loose to bring it into an RPG game. But hey, it's my channel, it's my video, I can do what I like. But I'm really looking forward to this game. I have played a very, very early version of the game, and I have also played Quadriga a lot. I love that game. And so I'm really looking forward to this one when it actually does come. Very nice, sort of almost like turn-based mechanics. You can play it in a bit more of a real-time sort of a real-time aspect, but not in what you're thinking. You're still just giving instructions of what they're going to be doing in the next phase of the actual race itself, which for me works very, very well. But I do like it as a turn-based game. So anyway, this was Ancient Arenas Chariots. Now in number 6, this is another one of these games that is not strictly an RPG game, but you'll see down there in the tags, it's got character customization. This has got incredible customization of the characters. You do become attached to the characters in this game as well. So they do mean an awful lot to you when you sort of are developing up the heroes with the different groups. But this is really a 4X, an open world 4X game. So rule a fantasy realm of your own design. Explore new magical realms in Age of Wonders, signature blend of 4X strategy and turn-based tactical combat. Control a faction that grows and changes as you expand your empire with each turn. This is one of my favourite games of all time. I've really got to sort of say that there. It's one of these games where, and I've sort of had it probably in a lot of my lists up until now as well. Like, it really is, as a 4X game, it's, one of the best ones out there. I love it. Absolutely love the game. It just absolutely enormously. It's a beautiful game. The user experience, user interface is second to none. It really is right at the very, very top of the tree in that sense. Replayability, I actually score it harshly, not poorly. For me, it's got incredible replayability. But I do get reports from other players that they get bored with it after a couple of runs. And so I take it on board. And so I've actually pulled that score down a little bit, which is why this isn't at the top of the tree. But in terms of my own personal preference and liking of the game, this is right up near the top. And the other thing with this game, the AI in this game is becoming better and better and better all the time. And not just where it's getting up to average. It started off above average, and now it's just accelerating up into absolute excellence. It's very hard to beat this game tactically. You do have to get used to it. And I think that also frustrates some players because it can be very unforgiving. The one piece of advice I would give you if you are playing Age of Wonders 4, is to, and the reason this is in my list is because there's DLC coming out. So I found an excuse to bring it back in, but because it did come out last year. The thing I would say about the game is, if you are a new player for this particular game, by all means, just play the way you want to play. But if you don't like the results from a battle, like if you play out a battle and you don't like the results, keep on retrying it, because there's a button when you finish a battle to say, do you want to retry? Just go yes, retry. You will learn so much about the game just by changing a few things. It makes such a massive difference. Even just having one unit move to one tile less or more, or whatever it might actually be, usually less, because it usually does work better to be defensive when you play this game. But don't rush in. Like, it's a turn-based tactical game, but at its heart, like, most of the time will not be spent on the overworld, on the strategic world. Most of it will be spent pretty much in tactical battles, unless you do the auto battles. But it can be brutally hard, and the AI has gotten better and better and better. So just be aware of that. So this is not an easy game to play, but God, it's rewarding. It's really is one of my favourite games of all time. It's easily in that category of my top 3 games. If I could only take 3 games with me, one of them would be Age of Wonders 4. All right, number 5, we actually have Songs of Silence. So it's a strategy game set in a fantasy world threatened by an all-devouring silence. The game features a mix of turn-based kingdom management, auto-battler, and hero development, contrasted with intense real-time battles. Now, it's this I'm assuming is an RPG style game, or let's just say a JRPG style game, because it certainly feels like it's a JRPG, a Japanese role-play game. And I really do like the Japanese role-play games, I've got to say. I find them fascinating, like on a cultural level, but I also really enjoy playing them. Like Brigandine, for example, was Brigandine was an incredible game, and the RPG aspects in that game, that was from last year or even the year before, I forget when that one actually was, but that was an incredible game, and this one feels very much like the same sort of game. I don't know if it's character driven. I'm just making an assumption that it will be, but it looks incredibly good, like really, really cool. So anyway, that's my number 5. That's Songs of Silence. So it does sort of say there, Songs of Silence is a strategy game set in a fantasy world threatened by the all-devouring silence. The game features a mix of turn-based kingdom management, auto-battler, and hero development. There we go, character development, contrasted with intense real-time battles. I've got no idea what that's all going to be like. I've got a funny feeling it's not scripted maps, so I have that's why it's down around number 5 and not any higher. It could be higher if the replay value is high, but I don't know if it is. So it's a bit of an unknown for me. So I scored that lowish in that particular category. For number 4, I've got Master of Magic. I've got the Scourge of the Seas DLC, but really any of the DLCs that they bring out this year, because there should be a few of them, maybe 2, maybe 3. There's also bring out pretty meaningful updates. Like when they do a major update, it usually brings a lot of great stuff to the actual game itself. So I am really hopeful for this game this year that a lot of the quality of life things start to sort of come into the actual game as well, not just these extra content bits and pieces, but this one does look interesting, Scourge of the Seas, and it's going to change the way that you play Master of Magic as well. I think it allows you to grab elements outside of your city circle, essentially, or your city fat cross, which used to be what you call in the original game. Those of you that are the original game players will know what a fat cross is. The rest of you won't. The fat cross is basically because it used to be square tiles. It's now hexagon, so there's no longer a fat cross. It is just a hexagon circle or hexagon expansion around the actual city itself. But it was only inside, and those city circles never used to grow, and so you couldn't actually then take any resources that were outside of that and include it with your city. It sounds like this coming DLC has got some mechanic to allow that. So I'm hoping that will actually then be sort of usable across all of the map. I don't know how that will actually function or work, but I'm really looking forward to seeing how that one does work. The reason this one again doesn't score higher, because I love this game, I absolutely love playing it, but at the moment some of the quality of life things in the game aren't quite there. So I score the UX/UI down at this point in time, with big fingers crossed that this year some of those quality of life things come into the game and just elevate it right up into the stratosphere, essentially. Again, this is one of my favourite games. I absolutely love playing it. I think the adaptation that has been done with this game is brilliant. Like it's not just a good adaptation, because there's been a lot of companies have tried to remake Master of Magic, but Muha Games and Slytherin Games, who have got the rights to Master of Magic now. Muha Games have done an incredible job with actually developing like a very faithful Master of Magic as a baseline, and then what I was really hopeful for is actually happening now, where there's more and more content coming in just to take it further and further and further, which is so exciting for this game. This is a game where every game can be so wildly different. Like this is just an incredible game in that sort of sense. Again, is it strictly, well, it's not really an RPG in the strictest sense. you do have wizards and heroes, so I sort of put it in there, and you do develop the heroes up. So it is about the hero development more than anything, actually, in that sort of RPG sort of style. So it's very, very loosely RPG. It's certainly character development, but not as you know it, not as you think in terms of RPG. So I have cheated a lot, I think, to actually put this in this particular category, but it's a component of the game. That character development is an important component, a very important component. So I thought, yeah, why not? Let's just throw it in this version and sort of let it go from there. All right, here we go into the top 3. So we've got Menace coming this year as well. So lead a strike force against an alien threat in this turn-based tactical RPG. There we go. It's qualified itself as an RPG from the developers of Battle Brothers. Answer distress calls across different worlds, train and equip infantry, deploy tanks and mechs, and plan and execute missions in detailed turn-based battles. I can't wait for this game. This is one of my most anticipated games of the year. The only reason it doesn't really sort of rate much higher than this is, in fact, all of the games that rate for the next few are really at the very, very top of my list for all games for 2024. And so these rate extremely highly. This is third, though, for the simple reason it's a bit of an unknown as to what it's going to be like. So I don't know what the gameplay is going to be, whether it's going to be good or bad, or what it's going to be actually like. So I've sort of I know I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait for it. Another Hooded Horse game as well, by the way. But this is this is from the makers of Battle Brothers, and Battle Brothers was again a very much like it did have very strong RPG components to it. It was an open world. I don't know if this is open world, actually. I'm assuming it is, but I just don't know. So I'm so looking forward to playing this one, though. It really does look amazing. So that's Menace coming in at my number 3 for sort of RPGs. For number 2, we have a very, very exciting game, basically, or an addition to an existing game. So Dwarf Fortress is getting a major update, the adventure mode, finally. So many people were disappointed that it didn't actually release with the adventure mode. But looking at what they're doing with adventure mode, it looks extremely exciting. So I'm really looking forward to playing this one. This could easily be my number 1 of all the games coming for this year. I think this is my second most anticipated game for the year. And it's only the one that actually beats it in this category that actually is sort of scored more highly in everything that I've got going. But this one, I can't wait for this to come. So this is coming in April. So we'll have a bit of a look down through here. But you can see they've got like all sorts of different character optimizations and characterizations that they've got through here. This, by the way, adventure mode really is an RPG. Like it's purely RPG, but in a very, very open world where you can do anything you like. It ticks all my boxes. So user interface / user experience, big ticks because of what they've been able to do with Dwarf Fortress. I was so fearful of that when Dwarf Fortress released, basically a year ago, that the user interface wouldn't be great, but it really was great what they've done. There's certainly some patching and that is very, very slow with the game. But UX / UI, big ticks for that one. Replayability, nothing like it. So this is incredible, the replayability, because it's so open. The open world is just so open. The gameplay, I have actually pulled the score down slightly for that one, simply because the game doesn't get patched as often as I would like to see it patched. So hopefully, some of the bigger issues that I have with the game do get patched at some point this year. Certainly, all year last year, from when it was launched, the Forgotten Beasts in the game, which are sort of like the biggest of the big monsters, couldn't break open doors. Now, in the previous versions of the game, they were what's called furniture breakers, or whatever they might be called, where they could smash open doors. In the current version, for the whole of the year, last year, that was never fixed up. And so I'm sort of hopeful that will come at some point. And so the patching for me, there's always good things that do come in the patches, but not the stuff that I thought would be patched. And I assumed that was going to be patched really, really early, because for me, it's a fairly big oversight to not have them being able to smack open doors. And there was a lot of actually monsters as well in the game that traditionally, like trolls and things, that can no longer break open doors, and whereas they used to be able to do that. And I think it's an important addition. It's one of those things where it worries me, because when they do bring it in, a lot of people are suddenly going to find that their fortresses are going to be overrun by things from the outside, because they've just got used to using doors to lock the fortress down. And that's a dangerous thing to do with Dwarf Fortress if they do fix that. I think it'll be when they fix it, not if. I'm sure that they will fix it at some point. It's just taking so long to do it. Anyway, I don't want to get caught up in that sort of stuff. So they've already shown off the dwarves and the elves, but here's a look at goblins and kobolds. So there's a few different sorts of characterization. So every character in the game that you come across does actually have this sort of like unique collection of graphics that is sort of combined very, very well in the game. This is beautiful what they've done with the base game, but also that's why I'm so looking forward to this adventure mode as well with Dwarf Fortress. There's just so much to like about it. The actual cities that you're then going to go and visit, they've got very, very fleshed out maps. You're going to be able to go into different buildings. It really is amazing. In fact, before up above that one, I think there's even more information. Yeah, different sort of customizations back in through this other side. It's just amazing, this game. Such an amazing, amazing game. Again, one of my all-time favourite games. Can't wait for the adventure mode to come in April. Yeah, really looking forward to this. And this is a very, very worthy number 2. Could easily have been my number 1 most anticipated RPG-style game of the year. My number 1 RPG, and again, this is probably a little bit loose with the word RPG. Actually, no, it does say it there. It's got RPG elements, and it certainly does. You do have units that you do become quite attached to. This is a dungeon builder, essentially, but with strong RPG elements. So I'll say an ambitious dungeon simulator with roguelike and RPG elements. When it says roguelike, that basically means sort of randomized sort of elements, which is great. So we've got procedural worlds, we've got procedural levels, we've got dungeon construction, we've got attacks coming in, and you do actually have characters that you're trying to develop up as well, that you do become attached to in this game as well. And so take the role of an evil wizard and study the methods of black magic, equip your minions and explore the world, murder innocent villagers and burn their homes, build your dungeon, lay traps and prepare for an assault of angry heroes. Now you see there the release date was 2015, but this year we get release version 1. It comes out of early access, and I'm actually sad about that because I've loved all the different changes over the years with this game. I've loved this game over the years. It's just been such a great, great game, and it's gotten better and better and better each time. There has been a few updates where people haven't liked them, and so but they've been, it's open access, it's early access, and so in this case you sort of do then go through and do what you need to do. But it's a great, great game. And so again, the RPG elements in this one are very, very strong. It does have an adventure mode, a bit like Dwarf Fortress as well, but it's a really, really cool game, this one. So this is by far, not by far, this is my number 1, but not by far, because Dwarf Fortress adventure mode and Menace really are close into where these top 3 really are sort of standalone, really highly anticipated for me anyway this coming year. As I say, this game is exceptional. This game is just unbelievably good. So anyway, that's KeeperRL, which is basically Keeper roguelike. It's a dungeon keeper style game, but with incredible RPG aspects to it, and of course fully procedural. So every game plays very, very differently. Actually, having said that, to preface that one, you still approach it pretty much the same way. You still try to do the same sort of things, but the maps are all random, and the actual world around you is random. So you don't know what you're going to be attacked by until you sort of start the map. Or yes, you do know when you start the map. So you can just keep on re-rolling until you get the sort of start that you want. But it's a brilliant, brilliant game. I really can't recommend this one highly enough. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it here. Please consider liking and subscribing if you do enjoy this content. If you look down below, there will be links to my Patreon page, my coffee.com page, my merchandise, all sorts of different things like that. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next episode, which will be, I don't know what that one will be actually. Don't know what I'm going to be doing next, but it'll be tomorrow that I'll release. I'm going to be releasing these ones day after day after day. So we'll get through. There's a fair few of these videos to get through. There's so many great games coming in this year.